What's up, guys? This is Rap Soup. I'm Matt. That's Mike and Nick. And today we're doing 1994, figuring out the best album from that year. We've been anxiously awaiting 1994. Three of our favorite albums of all time are in this year, and we knew that it would be probably the toughest one in the entire series. One of them at least. Maybe not the toughest, but definitely up there. You got Ready to Die, Illmatic, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music by Outkast. It's nearly impossible, but we had to come to a conclusion. We listened to a ton of other albums too, not just those three. I think I listened to 19. How many did you guys listen to?
About that many.
Yeah, 18
20.
or 19.
Yeah. Do you guys think it was better than 1993, and if you exclude the main three?
On par, or if not better.
I mean, it's just,
But
it's
definitely
hard
not worse.
Yeah, it just because of those three though. It's kind of hard to exclude those three.
You can't. Those were already certified the top three. There is zero chance you're going to find an album that we like better than those, and I feel like most of the hip-hop community in general would probably feel the same way. I'm sure there's some hipster-type people that would maybe say otherwise, but we listened to, like we said, 18, 19, 20 albums each from 1994, so pause right here if you want to see all the albums we put into contention. All right, now that you guys saw all those albums that we listened to, we're going to rank our top 5 minus 2, so pretty much 7. We're not going to count our 1 and 2. We're probably going to do a separate video for that just to get in a little bit more in depth. But yeah, so start at 7 and work your way down. What do you guys have? Mike, you could go.
So, like I said, not including the two big hitters, obviously. Number 5, I had Super Tight by UGK. Up to this point, my favorite UGK sounds I've ever heard. Number 4, I had Ill Communications by the Beastie Boys, which I was surprised I enjoyed as much as I did. It's a weird album, but it's a lot of fun. Number 3, I had The Main Ingredient by Pete Rock and CL Smooth. I had no idea I liked them as much as I did, but it's so good. Number 2, I had Tikal by Method Man, which is commonly regarded as his best album. And then number 1, I had Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, which at times I might put over the top 2 because of how much I like Outkast, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to put it at number 3, or number 1, that's not including the top 2.
Mike just listed off his 3 through 7 because 1 and 2 are Ready to Die, Nomadic in either order. We'll discuss that later. Nick, what are your 5 besides the main 2?
So at number 7, I had Resurrection by Common, Chicago rapper. Probably my favorite album by him to date. I think he had so many unique flows and rhyme schemes on that album for the time. Number 6, I had Regulate by Warren G. Some of the smoothest production of all time. Maybe the smoothest production of all time. Love that album. Number 5, I had Tikal by Method Man. I had never heard that album before, and man, is Method Man sick on that. Number 4, I had The Main Ingredient by Pete Rock and CL Smooth. They have proven to be probably the most slept on 90s hip-hop group for me ever. And number 3, I also had Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music by Outkast.
Yeah, pretty similar to mine. I would say my number 7 is, you said Resurrection, so I'm going to say Word Life by OC. That was the most recent one I listened to. Just listen to that before we hopped on here. It's amazing. I never heard OC to the best of my knowledge before. It was really good. The production was crazy. Number 6, I am gonna do The Sun Rises in the East by Ja Rule the Damaja. I have heard references to him by other rappers. I'm not exactly sure where. I know I've never listened to him before, but I've heard his name a bunch, dropped in different songs across the years. But this album is, to me, a 4 out of 4. Super unique, really good at rapping, really good lyrics, some interesting instrumentals and beats and stuff. It's really good. Number 5, To Cal by Method Man. Loved it. Do you guys know if this was the first solo album by a Wu-Tang member after 36 Chambers? I would have to double check on that. I looked that up.
I believe it is.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, it's definitely breaking the top 5 this year. I'm such a Method Man guy. He is so sick. I feel like sometimes he's underrated, maybe not. I feel like a lot of people always talk about Ghostface and stuff, but he might be my favorite from Wu-Tang. I'm not sure. We'll see. In 1995, we'll listen to some other solo Wu-Tang member albums. Number 4, I have The Main Ingredient by Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Just like they said, it might be the best. The Pete Rock and CL Smooth albums we've heard the past couple years we've gone through. They're some of the best albums that I've never heard before. I've heard some of the songs, a couple of them, but they are as good as rap gets to me. They're just so complete. It's just overall great music. The genre doesn't even matter. It's a shame that they didn't keep going, because I think that's the last album we'll hear from them and listen to. But yeah, they were unreal. Pete Rock contributed to the overalls. When people think of the sound of the 90s, I think that they're kind of thinking of the sounds that Pete Rock was making and influencing. But yeah, number 3, it's hard to put this at 3 because Outkast is my favorite music ever, but Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. Imagine being 18 years old and having this come out. They were like in high school when it started recording. Most people that are big hip-hop guys know the story of Outkast, and they recorded this in the dungeon with Organized Noise. Nothing up to this album sounded anything like this. To me, it's the most unique up to this point. Musically, it's the South. The South got something to say, like Andre 3000 said. They came out of nowhere, and it's some of my favorite music ever. It's not my favorite Outkast album, but God, is it good. It's so unique. Like I said, nothing else sounded like this before. And yeah, it's just an amazing debut album by them. It's all time for me. Outkast is my favorite shit, other than Eminem, really. But they have my favorite music, and it kind of sucks to put this at 3. But the other 2, you guys would agree, you got to put the other 2 because they're literally all time album. There's nothing more to say, or we will get into that, but.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to put Outkast below albums at all. It's probably the most nostalgic for me out of everything we listened to. But when I look at the other 2 albums, Illmatic and Ready to Die, they're just better albums. There's nothing to say about it.
Most years before this and most years after this, I'd have Southern Playalistic as the number 1 album of the year. But they decided to release it on the same year as Ready to Die and Illmatic, so what are you going to do?
Southern Playalistic came out exactly 1 week after Illmatic, I found out, in April of 94, and then Ready to Die came out like September 13th, 94. That's too much. Imagine if we were this age back then, how much we'd be freaking out.
It's a busy 100%. Year.
That's too much. That's too good of a year.
So, obviously, if you're watching this video, you know, and probably already have an opinion about what's the better album between Illmatic and Ready to Die. Throughout our lives, I know throughout my life, and I know the other 2 agree, who you like more has flip-flopped often. Sometimes it's Illmatic, sometimes it's Ready to Die. It's just the feeling, whatever you listen to more, then you kind of like, all right, I'm kind of done with this for a little bit, then you go to the other one. Those 2 albums I've probably listened to in full more than any other albums in history, or they're at least in my top 5. It was probably the hardest thing ever choosing. Like, I would go back and forth constantly because I don't know, but when we started listening to albums for this year, I listened to both of them back to back, and my response to it, I liked Ready to Die more this time. And it's Illmatic is they're completely different sounds while being like from the same area and the same time and the same thing. Biggie's just a lot funkier, better, smoother. Nas is a little rappier. it's a coin flip shit. Like there is no better in reality. It's all preference at that point. But for this thing, I'm picking Ready to Die.
I'm with you. I've been listening to Ready to Die since I was 11 or 12. That's when I found out what it was on YouTube. It's like I almost don't have anything to say because, like you said, it's such a coin flip. But I have, especially recently, gone back and forth between this and Illmatic. It's just, dude, Illmatic is perfect. I've heard people say in interviews and shit, if you deleted all of hip hop except Illmatic, hip hop could maybe be rebuilt just off Illmatic alone. It's like it's the godfather of rap. It's not too long. It's not too short. There's not a single skip on the album. It's literally perfect. It's like the perfect rap album. But then there's Ready to Die, also perfect. Dirtier, raunchier. But god damn it, Biggie has the best voice of all time. I don't really care what anyone says. Best rap voice ever. His throat was big. He was so smooth and he could flow, dude. Was this really the first concept album of this caliber? And it has to be the best flows and cadences to this at this caliber, at this point. He's arguably the best. If someone was like Biggie was the best rapper of all time, that's perfectly fine take. I thought that until like 2013, 2014, but he's one of the best. The only thing with Biggie is he only has this and Life After Death and then his posthumous albums, but his 2 albums when he was alive, all time, Ready to Die, it is iconic. I can't fathom what it would be like to be him in the studio. Imagine being part of this project and working if this was what your work was and that was the result. Every song is 10 out of 10, 4 out of 4, whatever. There's only one skip on the album. It's not even a song. The Fuck Me interlude. I was listening to this last night. I was listening to the CD I have on the stereo from the same year. And it was pretty loud, and I was upstairs. People were downstairs, and they probably thought I was watching porn, but that's not the case, so you could just skip that. But other than that, it's perfect. Every single song is amazing. You could put either one, but personal preference, I've been into Biggie and Ready to Die longer than I have been Illmatic and Nas. I found out who Nas was by searching Biggie in like 2008 or 2007 on the internet. A top 10 video of like late 2000s quality, and yeah, I don't know. So it's a month ago I liked Illmatic more, just because I like learned how to appreciate it a little more than I did before. But Ready to Die, I will say though about Ready to Die, I get a little. There was a point post college once I got really into rap. There was a point where I was kind of sick of it. Not sick of it, and like. I didn't dislike it, but it was just kind of hard to keep listening to. But after I took a little break from it and came back, I could appreciate it even more now that we've listened to like 70 albums from the early 90s. It's perfect.
I don't really know how to follow that up with, listening to these albums. I've probably heard both of these albums 100 times each. There are a lot of people that would say these are the 2 best rap albums ever made. And that is possibly true. Who knows? But when I listen to both of them, I think what it comes down to and what I like better is the writing and the concepts behind Ready to Die are just more interesting to me. I feel like the Notorious B.I.G. as a character, this like exaggeration of who Biggie was in real life, was so well written, and the album was so well curated by Diddy. It just told such a good, full story that it's always going to be exciting to listen to, because you're always hearing such interesting ideas come out of Biggie's mouth. So yeah, for me, it's also Ready to Die.
1994. Disagree or not, we are crowning Ready to Die as the best album of the year. Very tough pick. I understand why people would pick Nas or even Outkast over it, and that's completely fine. Like I said, there are times I agree, but a big point I want to make is that how much more modern 1994 sounded than the previous years that we've done. It was like rap took a 100-mile step forward because of these 3 albums. Like, they didn't sound like you could come out with these today and it would sound like they're like modern albums. They don't necessarily sound super 90s, even though they are like the 90s sound.
You would
Yeah.
never guess.
It's the best shit ever. That's what it comes down to. It's just the best shit ever. Again, 94 goes to Biggie. I feel bad for Nas, like, but it's just, like I said, someone has to make up their minds, and it's us. We have to tell you what's what, because we're Rap Soup. All right, I appreciate you guys if you stuck around this long. I appreciate you guys for watching. Let us know if you like Biggie or Nas's album more, or Outkast even. But like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.